Union success stories, what are they? My students went to success after I went to success. And I think that is like a very good ground rule because you can only pass on what you reached. If you don't have it, you can't pass it on. And the it is the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union primarily because everything physical that you want with your twin flame, the dating, the holding hands, the kissing, the committing to each other, the marriage, the family, the mission business building, the focusing on a beautiful money life and making that come true. All of that is a result of that consciousness state. So when you speak about success, twin flame success, what that is, well, that's how I would define the twin flame success. And I first went there myself, so I went to the full consciousness state. And then for 5 years, I worked on how that influenced my actual physical daily life. In full communication and exchange with my true twin flame. But not yet in a marriage that we can show and invite you to and have a party together. But that's an individual thing because of me and him and how quick or how slow we are in overcoming our personal traumas and doing our inner work in the field of making it come true when you are in harmonious union, the consciousness state, and now want to make it come true in the flesh. Maybe for you, you would be married after a month. Who knows? I would want that for you if that's your desire. So that depends. But everything comes from that consciousness state. So when I reached it in March 2020, approximately 3.5 months of our definitive and last full union experience, I started to come in the atmosphere for the first time fully and completely in which I could pass it on. Because before that, I could only pass on the tools and really hope for the best for you out there. And I already did, and it really sort of worked. But maybe looking back, I would now say, and then it fully worked when I reached it fully so that I could bring my students also fully in the results. And then after a couple of years, I also saw that I could bring my students in actuality quickly in it. You see how my experience as teacher progressed over the last 5, 6, 7 years immensely. Because I went from knowing what we were doing, working towards it, towards bringing students with me in that right direction. And I, I was a student. In a sense, I'm also still a student because I still learn always. You know, you just follow me and also start to learn. It's some sort of a healing pyramid. I go first, you come in sort of the slipstream or in like that pyramid. That works perfectly, by the way. So, but I was taking students with me in that right direction, but then I made it fully come true for myself. And that, of course, like made that feeling of this valuable sort of cloud of union consciousness that I was now reaching, made that experience with my students so much more deeper and profound and valuable, and for them it would be so much easier now to really get it with me, together with me, from me. And that was much closer by. And then a couple of years passed by, I have to admit, and then my first student got it as well. And then what I saw was that a little while later, 1, 2, 3 people came into it much quicker. And then they were so quick that the quickest student I had, it was like 1 year ago, she reached harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state. She was able to do that while working intensively with me one-on-one. She was able to do that in 4 months and 4 days, which is amazing. And so this became such a quick and potent, almost explosive thing. And then I brought 3 individual people in their harmonious twin flame union within the course of 6 months. Wow. I mean, that was like all such a crescendo, you know? So that's like my track record for harmonious twin flame union. Now, there were a lot more people, you know, that I was connecting with, working with, coaching, bringing further. So in a sense, these are like 4 people that I don't want to make it sound elitist at all. That's not what it is about. But they were, let's say, the ones, like the selection that really pushed through, really were brought deep, really desired to give all, really were persistent, really had, in a sense, patience. However, the last ones were like pretty quick. So you might say, what's the patience there? But still, you need to have the patience to see yourself through that process. It's a process. It's twin flame inner work, after all, right? And everyone needs to do that. It's not bad if you need to do twin flame inner work. It's not more than normal. Everyone needs to do twin flame inner work to go to that result. That's a given, because otherwise you would already have it, be in it, be fully surrounded by it, be happy in it, be with your twin flame, be married with them, etc. And you're not yet. So that's really not a problem at all. That's for like 99.9% of humanity. That is so at this moment. So you're just, you know, you're very normal. But that is only because we're still in the beginning stages of everyone in the entire universe going there, which is the direction we're in. And that is also the direction that God wants us to go. So it is really also made possible by God, and that is per definition the one you need to contact to make it come true, so that you know how it really works. It is actually pretty much, a twin flame inner work is pretty much repairing your relationship with God or the universe or source. It doesn't matter how you call it. You just need to repair that relationship, and then that will all culminate in harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state, and that will be the beginning of physically making it come true definitively and sustainably, and in the happiness and with the coming to you of your abundance together with your true twin flame. So yeah, that's just how that works. That's just how that works. These are the basics. These are the basics. So these were 4 people that really let themselves be guided by me to their success. Because as I said, you know, there were a whole couple more peoples, you know, like a couple dozen more and stuff, but they didn't let themselves be guided there. They just had a taste of the next step for them that was available for them, and then they felt like that was enough for now, or they felt like they made 3 steps and then they were like, I feel resistance and I'm going to give in to that resistance, and then they stopped working with me or they stopped doing the work, both. And it's sort of, well, you could say they take a break, because no matter how far away you seem to have wandered, no matter how much resistance you seem to be having, you can always turn around and go back to the true inner work for twin flames and make the next step in that inner work, right? You can always come back to me, come back to the school, come back to the coaching, start to invest again in your journey and repair the relationship with me, repair the relationship with God in your next step, and make a few steps more and reach it. There are always ways to turn around and start to make that happen. So in that sense, they're just, well, let's say they're on a break, and everyone can have a break if they want it, right? I would not recommend it per se, because here's the thing: the people that have reached it, they allowed themselves to be guided by me continually until they reached it. They didn't step out of the relationship with me, because in the end, in the relationship with the teacher, it is designed by God, not by me, by Divine Mother, in such a way that it will bring you there. So if you stay in the relationship with me, I can bring you there. And because I'm in it, I can sort of give that state of consciousness to you too. It's like an intimate working together that goes via Divine Mother, via that union consciousness and the twin flame love, which is the same. It's very interesting to experience. It's a relationship. Twin flame union is a relationship. The relationship between you and Divine Mother, between you and God, you and Source, needs to be repaired. That's a relationship. And you can follow that in a human to human way by going in relationship with the teacher. That's how that works. For everyone, also for those to whom this sounds strange or unattractive or I don't know what. But what you need to leave behind is the ego. And I've seen a lot that different ways in which that plays out, and that is difficult because of the resistance of the ego. That's the one that wants to take a break. That's the one that feels personally insulted because there's a challenging next step. And that is always the point. And that is always the difficulty. And that is always what needs to be let go of. And that is what the twin flame work entails. And you need to keep on doing that towards beyond that point that it feels undoable for you. And everyone will reach that point sooner or later. And then you need to keep on going and move through that and beyond it. And that's where you start to understand that there actually was never anything to be afraid of. The ego actually had never even existed. Your upsets were really nonsense. And love flows in because it already was there. And that's the place where you'll eventually land. That is the union consciousness that we're talking about. Your twin flame will be waiting for you there. Quite literally so. for everyone. That's how that works. It's not an undue statement. It's not a dream. It's not a hope. It's not even a want. It's a certainty. And we just prepare ourselves as best as we can to be able to go there as quickly as we can, and is working well for our union. And we also prepare ourselves so that when we reach that, we are there. We can maintain that. And we know how. And we are committed to that, to doing that, to executing that, no matter what. Because that's how you keep it. Because, I brought my students towards the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union, but not everyone kept on maintaining that consciousness state when they had it. And that was something very interesting to witness, to experience, and to learn about. That when you came into that other space, and everyone that I guided there had felt it on their own. It was clear as day in their heart what happened. That something happened. Oh yeah, they had felt it. Oh yeah, they felt like, yes, something was going on the last 2 weeks. Indeed, everything was so nice, suddenly, and so smooth, and so everything started to fall into place. I got a new job and more money, and I felt so good, and yeah, I just didn't worry anymore. That's really what they said. It was like, yeah, I know. You reached it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what that is. And then, their understanding clicked in with that experience. It had happened that it was like, remember, the last 2 weeks, I know where they were at. I had felt it, but we were only able to speak and come to a meeting online, in that particular case, for multiple reasons after 2 weeks approximately. And that's, or 1.5 weeks, or what was it? I don't know. 1 week maybe. Well, something like that. But that doesn't need to be like that. And actually, more times I have experienced that it happened while we were meeting and in a call, or more like, well, it was like 1 minute past our official time of our session, but we were still in the same call online together, and then it happened live. And I said, something like, did you realize that I just feel it just happened right now? And she was like, oh, yeah, I really feel it happened right now. And isn't that weird? I really feel, I feel it. It happened. So it was just right after you were saying this and that. And then I felt the shift. Did you feel that too? Yeah, she felt it too. Now I said it. I said, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Seems strange or out of the blue, but yeah, this is really it. You got it. It's here. You did it. Congratulations. That's really how that happened. I was also still in a shock, like, there is it for her. I felt it. It just comes forward as a blessing from God. And you're like, I'm also surprised, I'm also surprised for the students. Like, huh? okay, we're there. Wow. That was live, Yeah. That was another time. And another time it was with a student, it was more like, I think it was like, well, let's say an hour after or like the evening after we had had a conversation online. Something like that, I think it was. It was like an hour later or the same evening, I was like, after we talked, I felt it. Something shifted. Yeah, yeah, that was it. And I think it was something like this. I was like, well, I'll go to bed and I'll sleep, and if I still sense that it is s- that I still sense that this was the harmonious union moment indeed for her, because that was the first time I genuinely passed it on. So I think I wanted to sort of sleep on it, like, well, I'll go to bed, and then in the morning when I still feel it, yeah, then it must be so, and then and then I'll check in with her later. And I think that's what I did, and it was still true, of course, in the morning, like silly me, Of course, I was right. Not because I need to be right, but because it is actually like an unmistakable experience. And it is just so. When it's so, then it's so, it just is. So I slept and I got up and I still felt it. It was something like that. I was like, okay, okay, well, I'll probably contact her soon then or something about it. And then I think like later in that day, and there was like a time difference because we lived in different places on the earth. And so it also made sense to like wait maybe 6 hours, do something that I was going to do in my day already that I planned or something. And then I think I just hit her up and I talked about it. I said it, and she was like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And we had an understanding there. Or was it like it, or maybe it was a little bit like I hadn't even spoken to her that day before, but I felt it. I just felt it. And maybe it was like this, that then that next day I was actually going to speak with her about a topic that we had scheduled in, nevertheless. It was already scheduled in. So, and then we just spoke about that topic live in a video call. And then afterwards, I said, do you have a couple more moments? Because here it is. And since yesterday, I feel this. Do you feel that too? Yeah, and then we just checked it out. Maybe it was something like that. Very interesting. Very interesting. So I could like acknowledge that together with her for her. And, it was like, gee, there you are. Wow. And that was my first harmonious twin flame union passing on experience. And that was for her after having worked with me for around 5 years. 4 or 5 years? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think so. 4.5 years, I think. And then she reached it. So for her, she had needed, maybe you could say, or like she had taken like quite a while to some sort of sink into this intermediate stage where she was going in the direction, but she hadn't necessarily fully arrived yet. But she was going through an experience there that was necessary for her to give some space. And she kept on doing the inner work, and she kept on being more or less, connected and my student and stuff. And that was like, it was good for her. Very many people start their journey off. They start to do the actual twin flame inner work. And then they may have some sort of an intermediate experience, let's put it like that, and you will perhaps only understand it as such when you've arrived and then look back. Okay, no worries there. I understand, but this is just an educational talk to give you an idea how it could go. It will not go for you like that exactly. That's never the case, but it gives you a little bit of an idea how that can go, or what that is when people truly go to their success and what could happen. So when you look back, you might be able to say like, oh yeah, that was some sort of the intermediary experience that I needed to apparently sink into a little bit, because it had something to tell me, because I needed to learn something from that. And what I needed to learn from that only sort of started to transpire after a while, and after I allowed myself to experience like this, well, this upset, this suffering in fact, and I started to understand that there was something that I was really upset about, and I started to dig away at it in my twin flame inner work, and I just, I just, that just stretched out into a couple months and then more months, and it was actually, well, you could say, for instance, when you look back, that was actually strange, but it was what it was. And then she had the experience that, like, before she went to harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state, she had something like 3 months or something that stuff started to change. She started to go in a different direction, started to make other choices, and she had met other people, another person, and that made a whole impression on her, and that just started to make her feel different about a whole couple of things and what she was so upset about, and or working through or sinking into or what have you. And I was getting from Divine Mother literal hints in these 3 months beforehand, before her harmonious union moment, approximately 3 months before that. Divine Mother started to sort of ring me up, so to speak, and just tell me like, oh, you need to contact her and give her this. So I gave her that. Oh, she's getting closer some way. Maybe she needs that from you. And I gave that to her. And she started to come closer to we were also starting to work together. And she came closer to working together. And we had more conversation about what was going on. Actually, she was more ready to also be open about some stuff about this upset and what she was sinking into and working through. And Divine Mother was talking to me about her, and I was guiding her more and doing specific things. It's just so interesting. This happened more, but it's so interesting to see that, like, just Divine Mother, she literally comes through in me and tells me, okay, this person now needs this, because they are coming closer. I can just feel it, and Divine Mother just tells me. It's really interesting. And then it comes true. Like, oh, duh. And then you can see, looking back, yeah, of course, duh. Divine Mother told me, I gave her this because she needed it, and now 3 months later, and yes, there we are. Success. Duh. It's so interesting when Divine Mother has initiated you in this experience, that you can do that, you are allowed to do this, and you are technically, like, sort of soul technically or something, able to do this. That's so interesting. And then to also help people, guide people to afterwards to how do you say, well, to integrate this entire experience in like the development of their personal life, and to give that all a place, and to help you start to integrate it in your sexual life, in your meditational life, in your business life, and give you all kinds of extra tools in all these things. That's just beautiful, and I love doing that too. Yeah, that belongs also to that process. It just came to mind to say that as well. But yeah, and working with me can also be part of the mission experience of the building your business experience. And that has been going on in different phases for multiple people always as well. It's very interesting to experience how that it's guided from Divine Mother as well. But then at the same time, I am also a holistic business coach as well, and I even have a book about business. So there you go. So it's so interesting how that all sort of weaves together. Very interesting, but it's so beautiful to see how that worked for her, and that she came into this experience, and that you can that after 3 months she was there, and then you can look back and say, yeah, duh, like Divine Mother told me and guided you to it, and makes it now possible to acknowledge that together. And just even by the fact that we already had planned a meeting because of our working together, like, can you imagine? And then we could just say, yeah, and by the way, you reached it as well, didn't you? And it was just amazing. Not a mere coinkydink. Yeah. Wow, what more did I want to share about that? I think, yeah, and she had the experience that the inner knowing of 1000% sure of the divine revelation that one gets, that she got when reaching the consciousness state of harmonious union, gave her that it was someone else than she had been working with in this whole intermediary time when she was working through something difficult. But it's so interesting to see that that's in a sort of a divine way. Also, it didn't really matter. It all just shifted in that direction, and then it was just clarified and clear and completely here, and completely crystallized out, and there it was, and there was just no mistaking anymore, and it was perfect. And that's how you see that, what you work through with your false twin flame can be the exact same thing that you need to work through anyway. And you also need to work through with your true twin flame. Sometimes even a little bit of the last part of it falls in like the lap of your true twin flame, where you still finish that inner work with them. And it seems like the same theme, the same problem, if you will, the same upset. And then you're with them, and it just feels as though, like, oh, that's so interesting. Just this person just shifted out. Huh. But I just didn't even do it. It was God that did it, and now we're there, and I can only be grateful. And nothing was lost, and everything is here, and my twin flame has always been waiting for me here. And the full, fulfilled heart experience is completely here. And that happened with everyone that I brought to this experience, that they could only agree with this, that this whole fulfilling heart experience was here. Like this, finally I sink into this incredible, deep, beautiful thing that I always knew existed, and here it is. And I just sink into that in a relaxation that is divine. And you could see it with them, and you could feel it with them, and that is truly what that is. Now, what I also saw was that, well, let's go to another example. Like, another student came in it, and they had some sort of a in a sense, a little bit of a similar experience as the one I just described. But for instance, she had experienced also that after reaching it, it was difficult to maintain it. It was difficult to keep at it because what was very attractive was having that fulfilled heart, and that comes with an incredible high vibration. It's just hugely high vibrational, just by itself. You don't need to do anything for it. That's just what it is by nature. And that was very attractive. But what was not very attractive was really taking in like the correction in the personal experience, in the personality that came with it, because it also means that you need sometimes, just going to that enormous shift towards this enormous high vibration, but you still have a body and a personality and an ego. And because you shifted to this enormous high vibration that translates into the body, personality, ego experience, often as the fact that you can't escape, that you do need to learn that little bit of a lesson over there. You do need to change something in maybe your patterns of acting or your, I don't know what. It just really depends what exactly that is. Maybe your daily life schedule or your how you look on yourself, how you define your role in society. It just is really individual what exactly that is. But there are certain things in like your physical concrete experience that shift. And that shift in these particular environments in the ego personality body atmosphere, they are there for you to execute, because then you go inside with that high vibrational twin flame frequency of harmonious twin flame union that you just went into, that was so attractive. And then your physical experience aligns with it. And sometimes after harmonious union, there are multiple changes that need to happen to be able to keep yourself on track with your own vibrational shift to this high vibrational space of harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state. I'm not kidding you. So that's how you keep yourself on track. And that's just like the commitment that you make in keeping up with it, in maintaining it after you reached the harmonious union consciousness state. That's what that means. And you saw with her that it was difficult to accept like this physical personality correction shifts that just needed to start to be implemented. And that's where she let it actually sort of slip by. And then, I can want that for you. I can give you the nudge. I can give you the coaching. I can give you the programs. I can organize them for you. I can give you the help, the workbooks, the experiences. I can propose you the healing, working together with me assignments that you could take. I can lay them in your lap. I can send you the email about it and first talk with you about it, etc. I can give you the progression of twin flame workshops that you indeed could take that are beneficial for you because of your specific, well, what you would need to shift to keep up. and I organize them with specifically you and other ones, etc., in mind, because Divine Mother makes me, so to say, organize things that are fit for you all the time. That's included here. But I can't make you take it in. What do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And when you've said no enough times, then something might just break off. And sometimes people fall out of the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union as a result of that. So then you've not maintained it, so to speak, right? But also then one could turn around and just walk themselves back with inner work and recommitting and repairing the relationship and whatnot, and work themselves back and start over or go back to where they were, so to speak. That's always possible, but yeah, these are difficult things sometimes. So yeah, maybe like what's the moral of this story, Petra? The moral of the story is actual changes happen in your life. And that's where you can meet resistance. And this can even happen after you already got it. Harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state. And sometimes you meet it only truly or more clearly afterwards. And it will not work out when you don't accept these corrections and shifts and changes. And you need to be prepared for that. That's why we do twin flame inner work, and we practice together, and we go through these experiences in small increments so that you can get used to what that means. And I mean, that is just what the true twin flame work really is, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and it's okay to fail and then do it right the next time. And that's all beautiful. That's what we need to learn. And that's also why what I have right now, the Twin Flame Abundance Now school experience, the group year course experience, for you to be able to, well, yeah, to practice with like how to create that persistence inside of you, how to really do that inner work correctly, and allow yourself to keep on doing it also when it becomes a little bit more difficult, and how to do it wrong and then next time do it right, and have the patience for yourself to be able to learn this all. So that's why we start Twin Flame Abundance Now, the group year course, and it's open now for you to check it out. And yeah, soon enough, I will see you inside of it. And yeah, you know that already, when you follow me. So yeah, until August 8th, that door is open, and you might just want to start doing it. What it will do to you is just going to be incredible, and it'll just give you everything that you need. So there you go. So I think, yeah, like moral of the story again, I think it was like good for you maybe to hear some points out of the success experiences. And, maybe everyone wants to know, so they went in harmonious union and then they dated their twin flame and lived happily ever after. But for most, that experience was only just beginning with like, oh, that is them. Yeah, I get it. Oh, we're now in the consciousness state. Yeah, I feel it. Oh, now I could start to communicate with them again. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, so now I see that we could go to these physical, concrete shifts together that could make it possible real soon, or in like our rhythm, in our timing, to start a friendship, to start dating, then to start be each other's fiance, then to start being in a marriage together and start a family together and start the mission business together, etc. That can start now. And then they had just these first touches with their twin flame that were concrete and physical inside that space of harmonious twin flame union. But not all of them already brought that much further into the direction of, yeah, they're now married. Not yet, But whatever the experience is of these students, and even after they have fallen out of harmonious twin flame union, because it was that physical shift, the physical changes after the shift was still a little bit difficult, and they allowed themselves to not be committed and maintain it and thus fall out of it, they can still turn around, come back to that consciousness state, work, do the inner work, come back to it, start these touches again with their twin flame inside of it more and more and more, and work towards being in a relationship and getting married and etc. etc. So that starts for you there, and it starts to become concrete there. But if it is for you when you are there, and we confirm it together, and it is in your journey and it is fit for you to start a relationship with them officially next week, then perfect. All the power to you. If you can get married after 4 months already, perfection. I recommend it. But it depends, it is individual. And you will still always need to maintain that consciousness state of harmonious union, commit yourself to it, and go through the changes that can sometimes still be challenging to the ego, to be able to maintain it and have it and make that marriage successful, etc. So what you do is you commit to maintaining that consciousness state, and then that physical building starts to happen. After harmonious union, I thus recommend, highly recommend, you keep in the coaching relationship with me just like beforehand, and don't allow yourself to wander off, because these couple first months and couple first years afterwards are crucial to keep on committing yourself, keep on doing the inner work, keep on maintaining, and keep on growing closer in that physical experience that everyone wants, and to let that be guided correctly so that you are sure that you're not wandering off. So that's also what I learned as a teacher, and how I should recommend that to you and stuff. So, yeah, I hope this helped.